Welcome to today's episode of the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. We have a special guest with us today, Amy Galliano, the founder of AEG Insurance, a boutique agency based in New Orleans, Louisiana. With nearly 2 decades of experience in the insurance industry, Amy is passionate about helping individuals and businesses navigate the often confusing world of insurance. Her journey began with a focus on health insurance, but she quickly realized her clients deserve more comprehensive support. This led her to expand her offerings to include life and disability insurance, ensuring her clients receive the same high level of service across all their insurance needs. Amy's commitment to transparency, relationship building, and timely customer service has helped her build a largely referral-based business. We're excited to dive into her insights on closing the gender gap in insurance ownership, the importance of comprehensive insurance planning, and much more. Let's get inappropriate. Welcome to the Inappropriate Growth Podcast. I'm Paul Angel, your host, and today I'm very excited. I've got Miss Amy Galliano. I'll let her tell you. That's just so I don't mess up. Amy, can you tell everybody where you're from and how you got there and what do you do?
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for having me this morning. I am Amy Galliano. I own AEG Insurance. I have a small brokerage for insurance here in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Specifically to your background and beginnings, can you tell us about your journey in the insurance industry and what inspired you to start your agency?
So I'm born and raised in Louisiana, so I didn't end up here. I've just have always lived here. I left for college and just came back, mostly because family and boyfriends and everything else were always tended to be here. But I come from a family of insurance agents. Both of my parents sold insurance. I had lots of aunts and uncles who sold insurance, so I kind of watched it as a kid growing up. And mom and dad and family members really didn't have a conventional job that they went to every morning at 8 o'clock. And, they came home at 5:30 and made dinner and whatnot. That was not my life. I had parents that, would leave at 5 in the morning sometimes to go to see some, big client somewhere, not in New Orleans. And maybe sometimes not come home at night until 6 o'clock at night. Or they would literally not work at all, like on a Wednesday. So I didn't really grow up with any kind of understanding of what like normal life looked like from a professional standpoint. So, but I knew what hard work looked like. And after Katrina, I had lost my home. My parents lost. They had their home flood as well, and their business became very technical, and not in the technical way that you and I would think, but emailing quotes and doing applications via fax and those sorts of things. And they just found it very overwhelming. So they asked me to be their assistant and just kind of help them with the more administrative aspects of the job. And I had come from a recruiting background, so I knew a lot about that. And it was really nice because I needed the flexibility at the time. I was having to go to City Hall all the time and file permits. We were trying to renovate a house, and we had bought another house that was flooded. So, that all the things that come along with all of these things. We're not terribly straightforward people. We do things that are a little unconventional, I would say. But we're happy that we made the decisions that we did. But, a few years into it, I just thought, they're looking to retire and I'm looking to sort of bring this to another level. And I'm wanting to add products and just do things that they didn't necessarily have to do. So after a few years, I decided to branch out on my own, and I'm really glad that I did. They gave me a great framework and a great understanding of what the basics are, but it's been exciting to learn other products and other ways of doing business. So for sure.
I know that at some point you expanded your offering. So I'm curious what motivated you to do that on health insurance to include life insurance and disability insurance.
So it was two things. One was that I was referring a lot of the life and the disability and the other products out to different agents. And I mean, to be honest, they just really didn't handle it the way that I would have preferred that they handle it. It was a lot of like, oh, well, I sent you the quotes, but I didn't follow up about it. And there just wasn't the same level of client service, I think, that the client was accustomed to where I was concerned. So I thought, well, if I have the relationship, then why not just be able to offer all of these products, to these clients that are already existing clients or already clients that I've assisted with in the past. The relationship, already existed. And at this point, I was already a small business owner myself. So I kind of understood their needs and what that looked like. So I was sort of in the same frame of mind where I was needing access to the same types of services. So, again, why not just again use the existing relationship to pivot and to offer products beyond just, the traditional health insurance, which is what I was offering mostly at the time.
I'm curious, how do you build and maintain these strong relationships? And why do you think it's important in today's insurance industry?
If I had to pinpoint it and say that it is anything in particular, I would say that I am a person who loathes wasting time. And I am really particular about having my own time wasted. So I sort of take that into my own, my own building of relationships with other people. So people know that I am very straightforward. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't make it sound like it's something that it isn't. If there are issues, I'm going to tell you that there are issues pretty early on because that helps the sales process. It gives the person more information so that they can make a sound decision for themselves. When let's say it's health insurance, I tell them all the time, I'm not going to be, we have health insurance because, God forbid something happens at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday and you have to go into the emergency room. I'm not going to be with you at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday and you going into the emergency room. So for me, it is extremely important that clients understand the coverage that they're purchasing, what that coverage is and what it is not. So I think the fact that I really kind of get into what their needs are, what their concerns are, and then I'm able to sort of pinpoint, how a product is a fit or not. I think that clients really appreciate that level of honesty, and really kind of addressing their needs and addressing what it is that they have said that they're concerned about, as opposed to just labeling and just rattling off a bunch of information that they don't really care about. And then also just the way that I communicate. I mean, clients know that they can text me. They know that they're going to get an answer to an email probably in about 24 hours, probably less in most circumstances. So I think the communication style is probably the thing that if you had to poll my clients, they would say that they appreciated the most.
Can you think of an example of how a specific example of how this has maybe benefited a client or clients?
Sure. So many years ago, it's become a little bit better streamlined nowadays, but Cobra was sometimes an issue. So a client left their employer. They decided to elect Cobra to continue their health insurance coverage, and for some reason, they thought they had Cobra and they didn't. And that could be a number of different factors. So a lot of times, what I would do is when that client would come to me, I would say, if you find that you don't have Cobra and you think you did, this is what the application process looks like. This is the information that I need from you to get this off the ground. So just sort of letting them know and informing them about what they're going to need to do and what information that I'm going to need from them in order to get the ball rolling on a new policy really helps, just because the person can kind of prepare that information ahead of time just in case they do. And I did have a client where that did happen, where they thought they had Cobra and they didn't. And we were able to pivot very quickly because she knew exactly what she needed to do so that they didn't have any kind of lapse in their health insurance coverage, which is a giant pet peeve of mine. I try to avoid lapses wherever possible. It's hard enough to pivot to a new insurance policy without having like a month of a delay. It's just, nobody's thinking about that when they get their prescription filled or anything. So I would say that just informing clients about what they're going to expect if they do end up needing the product or the policy is really helpful to kind of get in front of that. I, Life insurance is about educating, and it is about letting people know that this is not about you becoming rich if your spouse, God forbid, passes away. This is about you becoming whole. This is about you not having to move out of your house because you can't afford your house anymore, because you don't have your spouse anymore. And speaking of pet peeves, that's one of the things that I struggle with the most a lot of times with husbands and wives, especially if one of the spouses doesn't work, because they'll always say, well, I don't need life insurance, I don't have a job. And I'm like, well, if you have children, you do have a job. Who's going to take the kids to school every day if something happens to you? I have it with the same way with health insurance. Like, oh, no, my spouse takes care of all of this. And I'm thinking, but you're the one who's bringing children and yourself to the doctor. I think I get that you want to make the decision in unison, and I'm a giant proponent of that. But both parties need to come to the table. If dad's off working, is he going to be the one bringing them to the doctor? And does he know what happens when you bring the kids to the doctor and how much you pay and all these things? So it doesn't always work this way, and not all couples communicate in that way, but it is really important, I think, for these decisions to be made in unison. And all I can do is provide information and give them as much resources as I can. I'm not strong-armed salesperson. I'm not, I'm still going to eat whether or not you get this insurance policy or not. But I just think it's important to just empower people to just understand what's involved in it. And I'm talking about all my professional pet peeves. I have lots of them from a personal standpoint too. But that's the other thing is
Most of us.
yes, but insurance agents not talking about the application process, that drives me crazy. Why would you, if you have a client who's interested in buying your product, you really need to take a few minutes to explain, this is what this application looks like. This is what they're going to ask of you. This is why they're going to ask these things of you. This is why you paid this amount of money for your insurance. So, that I talk to more clients, especially if they have an existing life insurance policy, where they said, my agent didn't discuss any of this. They didn't tell me what it was going to be involved in the process. They didn't tell me I was going to have to do paramed and blood work and all these things. And I think it's important for people to know what it means to go through the application process with life insurance, because a little bit of heads up doesn't hurt anybody.
In addition to the gender gap, why do you believe it's crucial to consider life, disability, and ancillary insurance in addition to health coverage?
I don't believe that is true of everyone. I think it depends upon the person and the circumstances. So it really does go back to the relationship and knowing how that person is employed, what their financial situation might be. And I'm not a person that is a proponent of overwhelming clients with products. Take it one at a time. This is already an overwhelming process, and they're not getting paid to do this. You're getting paid to do this. So, kind of sometimes I think we're so eager to tell clients about all these products that doesn't necessarily mean that it's appropriate for everyone. It is shocking to me that, especially, this happens a lot with new clients, where they say, like, I cannot sleep if I don't have dental and vision insurance. Well, I'm going to sell you a dental and vision policy if you tell me you can't sleep, but it's not appropriate for everyone. Like, there really are people that don't need dental and vision insurance. Like, it's a great thing to have and it's convenient, but if you only go have a cleaning once or twice a year, do you really need a dental policy? Now if you're concerned about big things and major things and you think you might need a root canal down the road, then absolutely. But I think it's more about fit and appropriateness. And I think that is specific to the client. So again, I think it just kind of goes back to being a resource and having clients know that you provide these products and know that they can come to you with questions and whatnot. But not every product is a fit for every client.
I'm going to go and make a wild assumption that you have a life outside of insurance, a life that doesn't necessarily involve insurance. How do you manage balancing running a business with spending quality time with your family or maybe pursuing passions?
So I am very lucky that my children are extremely self-sufficient. I have an almost teenager and an almost 16-year-old who's driving or soon to be driving. So I have my own stressors in my life too. But I've only ever done this job since they, have been on this planet. So I think, sometimes I joke that they could probably sell an insurance policy too, just because they've been hearing it, in the background all of their lives. So they don't really. Maybe I don't know. It took a long time coming to convince me that this was going to be something that I and I guess they knew better than I did, because I think I'm pretty good at my job, and I didn't think I was always necessarily a fit for this type of sales, but. Um, I'm a big I believe in quality, not quantity. So I don't need hours of their time, and they're teenagers, so they don't want to spend hours of their time with me anyway. So, we do a good job of planning family vacations where we spend lots of time together, and we're up and active, and like we went to Zion National Park for our last family vacation. So, it's not necessarily like we're all just sitting around looking at each other, and we can talk for 20 minutes and then we don't have anything to say to one another, sort of thing. And we check in like every night. We'll talk about what went well that day, or what was frustrating, or what, all of these things. So we just try to check in, and I always try to let the kids know that I'm always here, just kind of keeping the lines of communication open. But when you're a parent of a teenager, you have to take those opportunities when they come. I mean, it's not always going to be at a convenient time for you. So I try to just always just kind of keep everything open, and go with the flow where they are concerned. But I'm a big believer in quality over quantity. I don't need hours of their time, and they don't want to give me hours of their time. I mean, they'd rather do that with their friends. And I was young once, so I get it.
I know probably dozens of people who sell insurance, and one thing they all have in common is they're all well insured because they really see, especially when they sell life insurance, and you've done it for a long enough time to where you've actually did some counseling almost with a widower or a widow.
Sure.
Once you start to see the reality of how short life is, or
Yes.
how illness can totally change a situation, how do you discuss like the importance of being prepared for those unexpected things, and how do you convey that the right insurance coverage offers more than just a reduced copay? It's kind of a peace of mind thing. How do you explain that?
Well, I think that is inevitably what insurance is. It is about peace of mind. I mean, I think the last time I looked, that, I think it's like less than 1% of people will ever get the face amount from a term life insurance policy. I mean, it's just sort of there just in case something happens. Well, I mean, it just goes to show that, the person was just thinking about it years, decades, in some circumstances beforehand. But I think that really is what insurance is. I mean, it is about peace of mind, and it is about preparing for the future. And there's something about the human condition that makes us think that we'll be able to handle whatever comes around, because we've prepared for it a little bit more. I mean, nobody ever plans to get into an accident. Nobody ever plans to become disabled and can't work or can't do their job or what have you. So that's why the planning is so important. One of my very good friends passed away at 42, very unexpectedly. And, I think about him, probably once a week, I mean, and that was many, many years ago. So you just never know. You just truly, truly, truly don't, ever know. So, if I ever have a client that is just really not wanting to have the life insurance conversation, I'll always tell them this. Life insurance is love insurance. It is basically you saying, when you cannot say it anymore, that I loved you so much that I thought about you and your needs beyond when I could say it anymore. And that I can't think of any other way to convey that these things are really important. And some people are just never going to be convinced, and that's okay too. I mean, but you still answer questions, and you're still a resource, and you still don't know. I have 2 life insurance policies on myself, so I mean, clearly I believe in it, and clearly I wouldn't do this if if I wouldn't pay all this money on my premiums if I didn't have to. So I think the fact that we are our clients in addition to selling these products kind of does give people peace of mind that I'm not just telling you to buy this. Like I have this insurance as well. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is a picture of my husband and I. The back of that like all this blue is the Mediterranean. So many years ago, I had literally just secured my second life insurance policy, getting on the plane to go on this trip. Now, on this trip, we were not planning to be in Sorrento, Italy. We were planning to be in Portugal. And I don't remember how we ended up in Sorrento, Italy, but we did. And we were there, and my husband says, "Oh, look at all these cool Vespas. Let's go rent one." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's go do that." So we did, and I thought we were going to just, go all over Sorrento. Like I thought we were just going to stay in this little town in Italy and just go check it out. Well, he got on the highway with like tour buses and Lamborghinis and all of these things in this little bitty Vespa with our little bitty, helmets that would literally be nothing if we ended up, going down a cliff in the Mediterranean. My mother was furious when she saw I posted the picture. She's like, "You have 2 kids. I can't believe that you've done this." And I was like, "Mom, I just secured another life insurance policy." And she's like, "That is the worst answer you could have possibly even given." I said, "But you have the money. I mean, like if something happened to me," she's like, "Again, worst answer possible." But it just goes to show, like I tell people that story all the time. Like I wasn't planning on doing that. I would have never, had I been driving the Vespa, gotten on the highway with this thing. I mean, if you're going to die, you're going to die in paradise. So I guess there's, worse things. But, you just don't ever really know where life is going to take you. So you might as well just prepare as best you can for it. So this, I should keep this picture closer when I have this conversation to show people that even insurance agents do crazy things. So
What are some of the biggest challenges you've personally faced in the industry, and how have you overcome them?
I was very reluctant to go the social media route. Not a fan at all. And probably didn't educate myself on it early or quick enough or embrace it, for what it could be and what it continues to be. I've gotten better about it. I've decided to have some fun with it. So a lot of my posts you might see, I mean, it's just like little funny things that just sort of are there to kind of grab the person's attention. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to get your attention to make you think that, oh, well, maybe I do need a life insurance policy, or maybe an accident policy for my kids is a good idea. So I try to have a good time with it. I try to make it funny and light. But I will definitely say that I was sort of taken into that world kicking and screaming. I just was not, I didn't find it to be professional. I didn't find it to be, like, why are we selling insurance in this way? And, I mean, sometimes you just have to get over yourself and just go do it.
Curious what your thoughts are on the future of the insurance agency, or in the insurance industry. Because one thing I can bet is it's not going to be exactly the same in the future. How do you see AEG insurance evolving in the coming years?
Oh no! It has changed dramatically in the last 5 years, and it will probably be very different in the next 5 years. For me, my focus is always my client. So the industry can do whatever it is, and that is my job to pivot. My job is to service the client and to answer their questions and to help them address what their needs are. What are the things that are keeping them up at night? What are the things that they're concerned about? And let's have, these conversations, and let's try and find the most appropriate fit for whatever your concerns are. So that is always, 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 always my sort of guiding light from a professional standpoint. As far as the agency is concerned, I am really, excited about. I'm always open to new products as long as I find that it's a product that's, sort of on the up and up and is really a good product for clients. I mean, there's a lot of insurance that's just complete crap, to be honest. So I'm not in the market for that, but I'm always open to new products. And sometimes products that aren't, necessarily always insurance. I mean, I work with a business funding organization, and I started my business on a loan, and I remember how difficult it was to get that loan. And by the time I got the loan, I was so tired that I was like, oh, wait a second, now I have to run a business. It's so really just being able to provide more and more helpful resources for the clients, because I mean, you get to know clients and they don't have needs that are just insurance related. They have lots of, I mean, so SBA loans and equipment loans. We have lots of restaurants here in Louisiana. So just really being able to provide good sound products and be able to to sort of serve as a guide, I would say, through that process is where I really see the agency going. So always just staying open minded, always just kind of keeping my ear to the ground. I literally had a phone call from a client yesterday, like, hey, can you look into this for me? I don't know a lot about it, but it sort of seems up your alley, and I might be interested in offering it to clients too. And it's like, I love that. I mean, that's the sign of a great relationship, when somebody's open enough to say, like, hey, we've never discussed this, but can you look into it and tell me if it's on the up and up, and if it's something that you think I need to look into. I mean, that's just that's just awesome as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I mean, just really just you don't have much control over the fact that the industry pivots as quickly as it does. So it's your job to kind of just stay up with the with whatever's going on, and just continue to service your clients. I mean, that's the focus. Without them, I have nothing. If they don't pay their premiums and if they don't buy policies, I don't have anything. It doesn't matter what the industry is doing. So they are always the focus, for sure.
All right. Well, let's say someone is watching or listening to this podcast, and they want to get in touch with you. They want to talk to you. They need some Vespa riding lessons.
No, goodness, no, don't call us for that. No.
What's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to reach me is my website is AEG, so Amy Elizabeth Galliano with a G, insurance.net. And there, the first thing you will see is a little button that says schedule. And that will link to my Calendly calendar, and you can schedule a call at your own convenience, and you get my undivided attention for 15 minutes. If you think it's going to be longer than 15 minutes, then double book yourself. That's cool too. No problem there. And we'll schedule a call, or we'll probably do a Google Meet if you wanted to do something face to face. And I'm really good. I've been doing this long enough that I'm pretty efficient. So if you can give me 10 to 15 minutes and you can explain to me what your concerns are, I usually can tell you whether or not I can be of assistance, or get you to somebody who can. I know lots of folks that do lots of different types of business. So I'm always, again, ear to the ground, trying to figure out who I can send clients to, especially if it's something that I don't necessarily provide. I'm not an auto insurance person. I don't do homeowners. I don't do umbrella policies or anything of that nature. I'm a health and life and ancillary and disability person. So yeah. But you can reach out to me if you have questions. I mean, I am as ignorant of those other type of insurance as everybody else is. I do the same thing to my agent. I just glaze over.
Are you limited to any geography? For example, this podcast, I'm told, is very popular in Western Africa.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I would not be able to assist you in Western Africa. I'm sorry to say. But no, so my license is in Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. But if you're not in one of those states and you still have questions, sir, just go ahead and schedule a call. I can get you to somebody based on what it is that you tell me that you need. That's that. So don't let geography stop you. I mean, that most of these products are pretty similar from state to state, and if they're not, I probably know that too. So just schedule a call. I mean, what's 15 minutes, and in the grand scheme of things. So anyway,
All right. Well, this has been fun. I'm so
yeah,
glad
definitely, I appreciate it. So
I learned a little bit about insurance, learned a little bit about you. Thank you very much. Well appreciated. And thank you to our listeners or our viewers. And remember, if you're going to grow, chances are strong that you're going to have to do something inappropriate.
definitely. Well, thank you so much. This has been really fun, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.